Hello everyone, welcome back to AHGP, welcome back to F1 Manager. I thought last weekend was pretty fun, so I decided to do it all again. And here we are, we're going to be back with Ferrari, with Fernando and Esti Besti, seeing what they can get up to in the Scarlet cars. But of course it is a randomised grid, and there's also been some F1 action today to talk about as well. So let me know your thoughts on qualifying today. Predictably, Max Verstappen on pole position. And we're going to get into a few topics around qualifying as well. Is Christian Horner just trying to stir things up at Mercedes? Cause a little bit of unrest ahead of next season? I mean, there's only a couple of reasons why he'd name drop Lewis Hamilton as a potential Red Bull driver. However far-fetched it may seem, although in this universe we're about to dive into, it's actually a reality. So, yeah, the whole look at Lewis Hamilton in a Red Bull outfit last week could have been a thing, apparently. I thought we'd chat about Logan Sargent as well, the American driver, rookie F1 driver this year. Has he done enough to secure a seat for 2024 with Williams? He's had his ups and downs, but I thought today he did a decent job. So we'll, despite the fact that his times got deleted, of course, in Q1. So we'll discuss that as well. And also, I don't think anybody's happy with Abu Dhabi being the season finale. I thought we'd dive into that as well and discuss, other than Sao Paulo, where could F1 end the season? But we have a season of our own to deal with. My mouse is stuck for some reason on my second screen. I'm going to switch to the gameplay scene. And what you'll also notice is that there's a chat box on the right hand side. So, you get to see your messages up on the screen, hopefully. Right, we're preparing for the Australian Grand Prix. Let's dive straight on in. I'll make sure I have the chat open over here as well. That's adjusting the size of it. There we go, it can go over here. Lovely, right. We are down under in Australia, where we are just not going to bother with practice. And we'll dive straight into, well, also not bothering with qualifying. Lewis Hamilton tops the times in his Red Bull, and Max Verstappen is second in his Mercedes. What a warped universe this is. Alonso actually slower than Ocon in FP3, while Ocon was on mediums. Can only assume that's fuel related. Hamilton fastest only does 21 laps as well. Doesn't need to get his iron because the car is that good. Setup satisfaction is okay. Doesn't really matter. We're going to try and rattle through a few more races today. Like we got through the first two in the first stream. And I want to see where this championship goes while we sort of focus a bit more on discussing things, perhaps. But if you want to see a bit more of the action, then of course tell me, because Fernando Alonso's on pole position. This is, he took a surprise pole in Bahrain, and the wily old fox has done it again. Esteban Ocon out-qualified by Lance Stroll in a Haas. He must have done a terrible job. He's 6/10 off his teammate. That is incredible. Wow. Leclerc out-qualifies Hamilton. Verstappen has put more than 6/10 on his teammate Gasly in the Mercedes. So clearly Gasly having the same issue at Mercedes as he did in real life in the Red Bull. So just going to go medium hards with both drivers. In fact, actually I'm going to go soft hard with Ocon. We'll turn up all the driver options and we'll get a race underway. Let's skip that cutscene and immediately get to the grid. Here we go then. The lights are coming on. We've been streaming all of about 4 minutes. The lights are out, the race is on. And Alonso looks like he's going to be leading into turn one. Ocon's made a place up already. So, qualifying today, I actually missed qualifying, and then this is such a first world problem that I'm going to explain to you. So, I went to watch it back so I've got Sky Glass, and I went to watch it back, and I was just constantly frustrated by the fact that every time I fast forwarded or rewound, it would give me either adverts or skip to somewhere completely different. So I jumped from the end of Q1 to the end of Q2, having fast forwarded about 5 or 6 minutes. It was bizarre and infuriating, and we've run out of battery here with Alonso and Ocon. Put the ERS battle assist on. Alonso's opened up a 1 second lead over Hamilton at the moment. DRS is now enabled, and Hamilton is within 1 second of us. He's actually taken 6/10, 7/10. He's actually reeling Alonso in on this lap. It's kind of worrying, actually. Here comes the 7-time world champion, but he can't find a way through. So yeah, I didn't actually end up watching full qualifying. I just watched kind of the highlights, and I wasn't surprised to see Verstappen on pole. You know, he was complaining no end about the car not being to his satisfaction as Hamilton does take the lead all through practice. But did we ever really believe it? We've seen it all before with Hamilton. You know, the car's jumping around like a kangaroo is the new Bono, my tyres are gone, I think. So wasn't surprised to see that. Lando Norris, did he throw away a potential front row spot? Probably. But Charles Leclerc delivered a superb lap to get himself within a couple of tenths of Verstappen. We've had a crash here. What's going on? It's Albon in his McLaren. This is going to be one of those. Yeah, I mean, where is the McLaren going? What is that? That is bonkers. Right. Let's get back to the action. Tyres are getting a bit warm, so we'll probably have to just turn them down on Alonso. Alonso retaking the lead. Yeah, so I think Lando probably could have been third rather than, I think it's fifth he's in. He's behind George Russell. His teammate Piastri is P3, which is a great effort from Piastri, who has had a cracking debut season. It must be said, obviously he won the sprint in Qatar and has picked up a couple of podiums. We've got another yellow flag here. Who's crashed now? Is it Albon again? No, it's the other McLaren of Perez. McLaren are having a day here in Australia. What is going on with these McLarens? Just they hit another car and they just poof, they explode across the track. That is absolutely ridiculous. Tyre-wise, where are we? We are a little bit better off than Hamilton, who weirdly on this game is not great on his tyres, which I do have a bone of contention with. And obviously with that's Lando Norris getting a penalty for his collision with Perez. Madness. Absolute madness. Yeah, it does. Why is Ocon? Oh no, he's on softs, that's why. I was wondering why his tyres were so much worse off. Anyway, yeah, I think Piastri, that's who I was talking about. He's done a brilliant job in that McLaren this year, all things considered. Bear in mind, he had a year out last year and kind of got messed around by Alpine. So to see Oscar do so well, I think is really promising for F1. We've got drivers who can go on to challenge Max Verstappen at the top in the next decade, but the question is whether they'll have the machinery to do it. The thing is, everyone's going to pin their hopes on the 2026 rules, but how often do we see a rule change actually spread the field before it comes back together? We saw it in 2014 with Mercedes. They stole a march on everybody. Actually, 2017's rule change wasn't too bad. Mercedes and Ferrari were relatively well matched, although everyone expected Red Bull to be on the pace. And then in 22, it looked like Ferrari had nailed it, but really it's actually Red Bull. Although in this universe, we're making them sweat for it. It's now Leclerc who's actually coming through, but we've got DRS. So maybe we're coming through here. I'm not sure. I haven't really been paying that much attention to it. But yeah, we're a few laps away from Ocon's pit stop. Alonso is going a little bit deeper into this race. Ocon is now up to P5, which is useful. He's passed Tsunoda, who's the lead Aston Martin. Verstappen is actually doing a solid job in that Mercedes, considering where that Merc is at the start of a save. Gasly is well and truly where it's supposed to be. Is Max Verstappen overpowered in this game? Absolutely. I mean, this isn't a criticism of him, and I'm not a huge Max Verstappen fan. I think he's a fantastic driver. I think there's things that he could definitely improve on. in terms of his temperament and the way certain things are, done. But I think part of that is Red Bull. But yeah, in the games, he is reflected as almost far and away the best driver, which I don't think is entirely accurate. I mean, okay, at some points in his career, Michael Schumacher was very much the dominant standard, but there were times where you had drivers like Mika Hakkinen who were just as good. Of course, in the mid 90s, there would have been early 90s, there would have been Ayrton Senna. Damon Hill went and matched him for a bit. Villeneuve, maybe on his day, could probably have matched Schumacher. But there were times where you saw that there were drivers who could take it to him. Ocon is almost ready for his pit stop, so we will do that now. He's going to a set of hards. How many? Yeah, okay. No, not mediums. Whoops. Go hards for Ocon, and then we'll bring Alonso in a little bit later on. So, yeah, I don't think Verstappen is as dominant as people believe he is. It's that car-driver combination. And we saw Hamilton have the edge over the field and his teammate on several occasions throughout different seasons. So it's not that he's not as good as people think he is. He's a fantastic driver, but I don't think games are representing it kind of correctly. I feel like he has such an advantage.
Copy.
But also that can also be the car as well. But you're looking at this, that Mercedes shouldn't be there, and I'm not sure even Max Verstappen would be able to deal with it in that way. It's just the game is representing it in a certain way. But we've actually dropped 4 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton, who's just taken off. We are going to box. I'm assuming Hamilton will also be boxing. We've probably not used as much of the tyre as we could, as Leclerc goes around the outside. Let's delay the pit stop another lap, actually. Ocon is P10. Let's turn his overtake aggression up, get him in driving in clean air, and job done. Alonso has actually dropped to 4th. He's having a rotten time. Leclerc has just disappeared, probably with DRS. We'll be bringing him in this lap anyway, so that's fine. Tyre-wise, we're kind of about the same as everybody else. So I'm assuming they'll be in as well. What does Hamilton do? He stays out. Alonso, the first one to pit. So, Red Bull lead first and second. They've yet to stop. I want to discuss Christian Horner and those comments about Lewis Hamilton potentially looking for a way into Red Bull. Now, it depends on who you believe. I'm inclined to believe Lewis Hamilton a little bit more than I am Christian Horner. Horner has dropped Lewis's name alongside a potential Red Bull seat before, and I always take it with a pinch of salt. I think Red Bull, if they didn't have a top line driver, would be looking at trying to sign a Lewis Hamilton. They could have at some point gone for Fernando Alonso, because they had Ricciardo and Kvyat. They'd just lost Sebastian Vettel, although they had picked up Max Verstappen. But you're putting your eggs in the basket there. And had that not worked out, they'd have been left without a top line driver and still scrambling for a driver and an engine. Because I think Ricciardo would win races in the current car that they've got, but by the time he decided to move on, I don't think they were still ready to win a world championship. Would he have won the 21 title? Probably not. So they'd have been looking at an Alonso, a Hamilton, maybe a Leclerc. So it's definitely a possibility, I would say. But just, yeah, I think it's Horner just trying to rattle a few cages at Mercedes and just say, "Hi, look, you know, your best driver wasn't all that keen to re-sign with you," and just sort of plant the seed of doubt in the engineers' minds and the top brass at Mercedes that actually Lewis might not be all in on this. Apparently, it went to his old phone. So, I mean, who do you believe? Who still uses an old phone? Who still goes and turns on their old phone? I don't. But maybe if you're a multi-billionaire and travel the world, you know, you got to check someone's email, you bumped into someone, you turn it on and you're looking for something else and you find that, you know, a message from Christian Horner saying, "Hey, what's your contract sitch? Would you like a Red Bull seat?" Well, you know, it's a possibility. Talking of Red Bull, they are still out as it stands. I'm going to speed this up so see when they come in. We are 15 seconds behind, but we are catching them. And, these tyres can go to the end, I would say. Russell running wide at turn 9, but he is in an AlphaTauri, which isn't very good on this game. McLaren having a terrible race. Momentary yellow flag as Gasly locks up. We'll blame that on the W14, which, by the way, Max Verstappen is winning this race in, but he's just gone into the pit lane. Alonso returns to the front of the race. Ocon has undercut his way into P3 and is actually lapping. Is that Albon? Yeah. Zhou's just gone a lap down too. So we're lapping people after just 36 laps. Ocon is 1.5 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton. But if there's any sort of safety car, then we could probably pit Ocon again. Although, I mean, we could put him on a set of mediums in a bit and then come out and really charge at this lot and have maybe a double podium for Ferrari. That's a possibility. Hamilton is closing in. He was just the 1.5 seconds quicker last time around. We're coming up to some more traffic. So let me know what you think of the Horner-Hamilton saga. Is it Horner just trying to get into Mercedes' heads and make them miss a step for next year? Or is there an element of truth in this that, you know, maybe not as one-sided as Horner is suggesting, but actually that there's a little bit of interest from both sides, a little bit of exploration, and not a huge amount outside of it. Hamilton's actually gone onto a set of softs, and so has Leclerc, which would explain why they're absolutely flying right now. So we've done something completely different. I'm actually going to bring Ocon in for a set of mediums. We're just going to smash it on a set of mediums. I think we'll come out ahead of Bottas, who's actually 7th in the Williams. I mean, talk about putting things out of place. Bottas has got the Williams into P7. Has he stopped? He has, but he's going to stop again. He's on a set of softs, so that joy will be short-lived. Ocon into the pit lane. Do we get a good stop? We do. 2.6 seconds. Okay, that's not bad. What's the tyre situation at the front? As Alonso's just lost second place. I mean, we won the first race of the season pretty comfortably, I might add, with Alonso. And then we got destroyed in Jeddah, and we're actually kind of strategically we've taken ourselves out of position here. But I mean, what's the situation on tyres? We've actually got a fresh set of softs. Do you know what? I'm going to go for it. We might as well. We'll come out behind Verstappen. We're going to have such better tyres though, and we can just push all the way to the end. Ocon came out in P6. Alonso comes out in P5 and 22 seconds off the lead. So I wonder, we'll push with the fuel. Let's see, can Alonso catch those ahead of him? What's his first lap like out of the pit lane? There's some traffic to negotiate. Ocon is behind him. Tsunoda's actually 4th in the Aston Martin, which is an interesting development. Sargent's still in the points as well in the other Aston. He's doing a decent job. Alonso is fast, so he was 1.6 seconds quicker than the race leader. Tyres are getting a bit warm, but it doesn't matter because we are trying to close down everyone ahead. Tsunoda ran wide and has given us a glorious opportunity to take the position. We need to have high aggressive overtakes, please, Fernando. And hopefully he will get the job done here. We'll deploy out of the final corner and get the move completed. There we go. Right, P4, 10 laps to go. We are still 18 seconds behind the leaders. So, yeah, this stop for softs probably not going to work out as we hope. We're going to reverse our way off the podium. I'm going to attack with the tyres and just go for it. Tyres are getting a bit hot, but not a problem. Yellow flag, Magnussen with a spin, shock. We are closing on Verstappen. Tyres are getting a bit warm, but that's to be expected because we're just rinsing them. Their tyres are now just ticking past 50%, which is where they significantly drop off. We'll probably reach that point on the last couple of laps, but we are now 4th and 5th. Tsunoda overtaken by Ocon. So yeah, that late switch to a 2-star, we kind of we were neither in nor out, were we? We didn't have enough laps to catch the leaders. We'd committed to the 2-stop at the start of the race, and I think we might have been able to catch them. Can we catch Verstappen on the final lap? Let's give it everything to do so. We're still driving in clean air. We are not. That's an AlphaTauri getting in the way of George Russell. And it's cost us a chance here, I think, of catching Max Verstappen for the final step on the podium. Ocon's going to finish 5th. Alonso's going to finish 4th. Tyres are getting a bit hot. Hamilton wins the Australian Grand Prix ahead of Leclerc. Verstappen's going to hold on for a first podium with Mercedes. Alonso just a second behind. Ocon comes home for 5th. So,
overall good.
Yeah, I mean, we finished with the fastest pit stop. Okay. I've just had that notification pop up on my screen. Because in my Mercedes career, we don't have fast pit stops. Right, so Hamilton now leads the World Championship. Fernando Alonso had led after the first 2 races. We were joint top, actually, weren't we? If I remember correctly. Leclerc now moves ahead of Fernando. Yeah, I think we cost ourselves 3 points, so we wouldn't have held the lead anyway. We are now a long way behind Red Bull. Fastest pit stop we had with Fernando Alonso, a 2.4 second stop. So yeah, That's not bad at all. Alfa Romeo, their car might be rubbish, but their pit crew know what to do. And Mercedes actually got a point there. Gasly got some A-class service. Decent recovery actually that from Ocon. 7th to 5th. Alonso going the other way. Pole position to not even on the podium. Right, well, fast forward to Baku. And while I do that, let's discuss. In fact, let's put this in the chat. If I can get my mouse to go over there. And if you're watching after the fact, well, hang on, let's not do a poll. Let's do it as a Q&A. Here we go. Where should F1 end the season other than Sao Paulo, brackets, or Abu Dhabi? So hopefully that's going to pop up. There we go. So just pop your... hopefully that's worked on the chat. I've no idea if it's doing anything. So we'll wait and see. Right, car inspection has failed. So let me know where you think the season finale should be held. You can answer this in the chat. You can answer it in the comments section below as well. I'll just let the computer Laura Meckies can decide what to do with the pit crew team. We need to probably design some more parts. So we did design at the end of the last stream underfloor, rear wing and front wing. They're all now being manufactured and they'll be on the car for Baku. Let's design some side pods. We've got none of that left, so let's do drag reduction. Leave the engine cooling as it is, like that. There we go. Boom. That'll do. We'll put 4 engineers on it. Rush it. Yeah, and we might even have that in time for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Let's do some suspension. Again, drag reduction, brake cooling, airflow, the lifespan. So that gives us a little bit of a boost in medium speed. But the extra weight that you save is critical, because then you can just be a bit faster than your rivals. Okay. I'll do $1.3 million, no problem. Now we've got a month break until the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Although we've had a factory fire. May have been caused by the facility's power supply. Well, I've no idea what the power supply facilities in Italy are like, but this doesn't bode well. We should not continue to manufacture any parts while this matter is being investigated. Well, we might not have those parts for Baku then. Approve the pause for 10 days. Great. Classic Ferrari. Classic Ferrari. Technical changes. Side pod focused, chassis focused. Let's do chassis focused changes. Do it that way. Let's see what everybody else voted for. Here we go. Oh, it passed. Red Bull and Aston Martin voted for side pod focused and got nowhere. Factory fire. The issue was found and resolved, so it's now safe to work again. Lovely, which means these things are going to be in development. We can start putting the... What parts have been manufactured? Oh, we've got a bit of everything. Lovely. That can all start going on the car. If I can click the right buttons, we'll be able to get to where we want to be. There we go. We can start putting a front wing on, a new rear wing, new underfloor. Cool. Right, what does that do for the car performance. Okay, we're 7th on medium speed now. 2nd for low speed, 1st for high speed. And we need low speed and top speed for the next race. Who's 1st for low speed? That must be Aston Martin. Yeah. So the Aston Martins are going to be pretty strong at this next race. And so are Red Bull. Mercedes will probably be nowhere. So, where do I think F1 should end the season? Other than Sao Paulo, but not in Abu Dhabi. Hang on 1 second. I just need to manufacture the... was it side pods? Yeah. There we go. So if they didn't go to Abu Dhabi, if we scrap Abu Dhabi as the season finale, and we couldn't go to Brazil, when I started watching F1, Suzuka was actually the season finale. So I would be quite keen for that, but also that was the season ending in October. So it's probably not realistic to go to Japan in late November, which is half the reason why we have the season ender in Abu Dhabi, because the weather's fairly stable at that time of the year. I mean, I'd love Suzuka to do it again. Brazil's obviously the best bet. Australia, maybe, because it used to be the season opener. I think go there when they're going into their summer instead of when they're going in towards their winter. Might be a little bit better. Let's just go to practice. This is a sprint weekend, by the way, so let's crack on with that. I think there was a bit of an issue there with OBS disconnecting, so hopefully that hasn't interrupted the stream too much. Let's switch back to the chat. Yuda Bagaskara, welcome to the chat. Las Vegas, yeah, that would be, yeah, I think that would be a good shout actually. Where should the season end? Is that because it was just a spectacular venue, or would it bring good racing? Talk to me about your reasoning there. We're going to simulate to practice 2 here for qualifying. Also, hope you're having a good weekend. Let me know what you thought of qualifying today. Alonso P2, but only 0.03 of a second slower than Hamilton. Ocon, we have set him to work on a short run pace. He's actually 1.1 seconds off the pace. That's incredible. And Mercedes are actually ahead of us with both of their cars. That's nuts. George Russell gets the AlphaTauri into Q3. Sainz and Bottas in P10 as well. That's impressive. Skip FP2, which we have finished second in. Now, this is where the action could get a little bit messy, because Baku right, let's... Why is Ocon on prepared for a set of hards? We've got 2 fresh sets of softs to use. I think we just chuck a set of softs on it. And the same with Fernando. Cool. And then we do this. Right, let's see what the sprint does. We've got to sort of speed run this again. So that's Hamilton on pole. Remember, the sprint sets the order for the race. Lights are out, the race is on. Alonso moves across to protect his second position. What tyres is everybody on? Well, softs. The game is suggesting that we should be on a medium set with Alonso and hards with Ocon. It's just mad. No active strategy. Yeah, there's no strategies needed in a sprint. All you need to do is overtake the people in front of you. And that's what Ocon is doing. He's passing Pierre Gasly. Although has he got the position? Looks like he has. Nicely done there, Esteban. Right, we have left Leclerc behind on this opening lap. Hamilton and Alonso are about to... Well, Leclerc's closing in now. I thought they were about to serve up a bit of a treat and just go head to head. Alonso has taken the lead. I think we're about to lose said lead.
Temperatures are going slightly up.
Copy.
Here comes Hamilton, Verstappen right on Leclerc's tail. Ocon just on his own. Actually, he's defending from Gasly. He's dropped back. Alonso retains the lead over Hamilton for the moment. Ocon and Gasly are scrapping away. Hey F1 Skiddy, I don't know how this system works. Can you explain? Which system are you talking about? Are you talking about the Q&A or just the chat in general? But welcome to the chat, welcome to the stream. Great to have you here. Let me know your thoughts on qualifying today. Also, where should F1 end their season? Right, Alonso and Hamilton are continuing to scrap away. The alternative thing. Just put your answer in the chat. That's... I don't know how it works either. So just for simplicity, pop it in the chat. That's all I'll ask you to do, because that's all I would expect anyone to do in answering. So my suggestion is Australia or Japan, purely because I grew up in the 90s watching F1, and Japan at the time when I started watching Formula One was the season closer. Yeah, gutted for Lando in quali, but apart from that, it wasn't. Yeah, it was Bahrain as a season closer. That would be interesting. We've got a crash here in Baku. Bottas, oh, you Wally, you were doing so well. He was 9th. And then he's had a crash with George Russell. Oh, the irony. Unbelievable. Bahrain's an interesting shout. Instead of it opening the season, it closes the season. I suppose, yeah, there'd be a similar sort of premise for why Abu Dhabi is the season finale. We've got a virtual safety car. And we've got a red flag in the sprint. Fantastic. Why have we got a red flag in the sprint? Oh, Bottas! What's going on? And now he's just blocking the track. Oh dear. Oh dear. The Williams guys are like, oh, this is just going from bad to worse. Go back to Australia as a starter. Yeah, I would be up for that. I think Australia should be the opener, or I think it should be the closer. Alonso will restart this race from pole position. What do we do with the tyres? I'm not going to use the fresh set softs because I know how that works out. Okay. I think we're about halfway through this sprint. Okay, the lights are coming on. There was a glitch today in my recording of the Mercedes career where we had a restart, but the lights didn't come on. It cut to the restart screen and the cars just drove away. It was absolutely bizarre. Alonso's held position off the restart. Bottas and Magnussen is under investigation, no penalties. The Red Bulls have gone to fresh tyres, so they're using a set for the final few laps here. We can push with the fuel. Ocon is now actually 4th. That's interesting. He's got himself ahead of Verstappen. Leclerc now leads. The Baku specialist. Yellow flag.
So there was a crash.
Did see someone's name shoot down the order. Let's have a look at this. It's Lance Stroll. And George Russell's involved with this again. Let's see. Oh, George. Right, well, that wasn't as dramatic as I thought it might be. But we do need to crack on and get ahead of Leclerc. We can deploy with the battery now, actually. So F1 Skiddy saying you're gutted for Lando. That was an interesting thing to happen. How many drivers transfers, or is it edited? This is edited. So I used a wheel spinner to decide who would end up where. And this is what we ended up with. We ended up with some interesting partnerships and stories. Some sort of alternate universes. And we're trying to win Fernando Alonso his 3rd World Championship. And he's ended up with his old mate Ocon. And obviously they got on gloriously like a house on fire when they were teammates at Alpine. We've opened up a 2.5 second lead here over Leclerc, who's just being left to fight with Ocon and Hamilton. We might even be able to lock out the front row here for Ferrari. Let's see if we can do that. F1 Skiddy, my question to you on Lando Norris is, did he throw away a front row start with that slide? Could he have beaten Leclerc's time? And I think Leclerc's time was very impressive, to be a couple of tenths off of Verstappen. Let me know if you think Lando would have been on the front row. Obviously Piastri's P3. I think he would have beaten him, but would he have been alongside Max tomorrow? And we are having a lovely time at the front of this race with Alonso. But Ocon is... what's going on with the Red Bulls there?
Take it easy.
Wiggle City.
Okay.
We need to... We'll turn the overtake aggression up.
Might be a chance. Yeah.
Definitely might be a chance. Alright, we look to have dropped back a bit here. We're not driving in clean air still. Do have DRS. Maybe the Red Bulls were just saving their batteries a wee bit. Got 3 laps to go. Alonso comfortably in the lead. We can just turn his aggression up on the tyres a little bit more. Feel like my decision to go with used tyres has been vindicated. Let's see. Does Ocon find a way through? 1.5 tenths of Verstappen. He was about a tenth down or so off the middle sector. Yeah, I mean, I've only seen the highlights, like the YouTube ones, so I don't have the full picture of how the laps unfolded. I did explain it earlier in the stream. It's a very first world problem. So Ocon all over the place looking to get through. Go on, Esteban. Go on, send it. No, not finding a way through. Anyway, let's just attack for the final lap with Ocon. Yeah, I mean, Lando was very critical of himself, wasn't he? This, I don't know. Is this a strength of Lando that he's able to criticise himself so harshly, and you know, you got to be your own biggest critic, I suppose, from time to time. But as Alonso wins the sprint. But does he do himself a disservice? Does he put himself down too much? Maybe get a bit down in the dumps on things? And do we maybe think that detracts from his performance? Alonso delighted to have won the race. We've got to do it all again in a minute though. Right, we'll have pole position for the race. Yes, a lot of other drivers won't admit to their mistakes, one of which I'm currently managing. The guy who's... The mouse is kind of near him. His trust in McLaren is a problem. I agree with you on that, actually. I think that's a really important thing to consider is he trusting McLaren too much? This was the problem Lewis Hamilton had, I think. And his conundrum in 2012 was, does he keep faith with the team that brought him into the sport, or does he go and forge his own path? With Lando, I think he's going to stay at McLaren. He's locked in until 25. Unless someone else opens up a seat at that point. Maybe Mercedes. If they get it right and Lewis doesn't want to stay around for 26, maybe he goes there. Maybe he goes to Audi because Andrea Seidel is there orchestrating things. There's possibilities. So yeah, I think you're right. He's putting a lot of faith in McLaren. They haven't got it right at the start of the last 2 seasons, but they've shown this year that they've fixed a lot of the issues they had, and they've made huge strides. And arguably, the second half of the year, they've probably been the second best team behind Red Bull, haven't they? Let's be honest. Mercedes and Ferrari have flirted with being the sport's number 2 team, but really, they've made 2 cars that are not particularly consistent. The W14 especially. As a Mercedes fan, I cannot wait to see the back of that. Throw it in the scrap heap right behind the W13. If we could just wheel out the W11 again, that would be wonderful. Let's get this Azerbaijan race underway. Only 2 teams going to sign him. It's Red Bull or Mercedes when Lewis retires. Yeah. But would Red Bull put Lando in alongside Max and risk upsetting the balance? I'm not sure. I think Red Bull turn to Lando if they were to ever lose Verstappen. Lando's that good. I think if you put Lando alongside Verstappen this year, we have got one heck of a title fight, which probably gets decided tomorrow, to be honest. Lights are out, the race is on. Alonso flies off the line. What's everybody else on tyre-wise? The Red Bulls have probably put on that used set of softs from the sprint, by the look of it. So yeah, I agree. I think maybe they're the only 2 teams. It depends. What do Audi look like when they come in? What sort of statement do they want to make in 26 when they turn up and they hit the ground running? Because if they want to make a real statement, they're pinching a top line driver. And I've seen all the theories about Vettel coming back with Audi. I don't see it, honestly. I don't think Vettel would want to come back. He'd have had too long out of the seat. I don't think it would make sense. The only driver who's going to challenge Max is Lando. Charles is close but lacks the mindset. I'm not sure if Charles lacks the mindset. I think sometimes his confidence gets taken away from him. I think this Ferrari this year has not been quite to his liking. I think he's probably a little bit particular about the way the car behaves. And we've seen it over a single lap. He is undoubtedly one of the best. I think it's just his consistency over a race stint and then putting that together week after week as Alonso takes the lead from Hamilton. Because we've seen Charles win races. Okay, he should have won a lot more, but he's absolutely capable of winning a Grand Prix from the front. I just don't think he's had the car really to do it. This Ferrari doesn't use its tyres particularly well. It's not good over a race stint in certain places. So I kind of disagree with you on that, but I think Charles is absolutely capable of being a world champion. He's got the raw speed to do it. He reminds me a lot of Häkkinen, because he was unbelievably fast over a single lap. But sometimes his pace would go missing during a Grand Prix, but when he was on it in a Grand Prix, even Schumacher couldn't keep up with him at times. And that puts into perspective just how good he was. I'm going to turn the conversation away from Lando Norris because there was one driver I wanted to discuss with you guys as well, and that's Logan Sargeant at the other end of the grid. Okay, his qualifying today didn't go to plan in terms of having both his laps deleted in Q1, which means he starts at the back, but actually his pace was really good, competitive with Alex Albon in the Williams, who I think we can all say has become one of those midfield stars of F1, sort of a bit like how Perez was. Carlos less consistent over the end. Yeah, I think there's been a bit of a closer match between the two Ferrari drivers this year, but I think that's down to the car. I think Ferrari have developed the car in a way that suited Carlos a bit more. Logan Sargeant, has he done enough to earn a 2024 seat? Vegas was pretty good for him, especially in qualifying. The car probably ended up about where it should have been in the race. This weekend, the pace was decent, but obviously both laps deleted. Going to be a struggle tomorrow. Should Logan be retained for next year? It's the only seat left, I believe, to be confirmed. I think Sky, was it Naomi Schiff, was suggesting to Felipe Drugovich about him getting that seat. Be interesting if he did. Maybe it's Théo Pourchaire if he clinches the F2 title tomorrow morning. We're still fighting away with Hamilton at the front here with Alonso. Going to move this along. Yeah, who gets that final seat on the grid for next season? Is it Logan Sargeant? Is it someone else? And also, if it is someone else, tell me who it is. We're having decent little scraps here. One driver that can replace Sargeant, and it's Lawson. But Logan is going to keep it. I think Liam Lawson did a brilliant job in the AlphaTauri. He showed actually he's a class driver. Drugovich to wait for Alonso's retirement. Well, he could be waiting a long time. Let's just put it that way. Alonso might still be racing when he's 48. You never know. But yeah, credit to Liam Lawson. He was excellent. Honestly, it made me question whether Ricciardo should have been back in the seat afterwards, after his injury. But in fairness to Ricciardo, who's come back and done a decent job too. And Tsunoda, I'm not sold on. So honestly, I'd have liked to see two boys from down under in that team next year. But Yuki's got the Honda backing. We've got a bit of gearbox wear on the Ferrari. You know, the classic Ferrari unreliability rearing its head. Should we just retire the car? Powertrain temperature getting a bit hot there. Being able to score points within your first 3 races. Yeah. And also where he scored those first points was important as well. It wasn't like, if you take Nick De Vries last year, hopping into the Williams, bagging P9, the Williams excelled at that track, and it was always going to be decent for Albon. And De Vries isn't as bad as this year, this half season made him look. I think the difficulties with the car has improved a lot since the middle of the season. But by that point, his confidence had just been destroyed, and everything had been undermined in terms of his position within the team, I think. So, yeah, I think De Vries, obviously that performance in Monza was a one-off, but for Liam Lawson to get those points in Singapore, arguably the toughest race of the season until they went to Qatar, when they were all on the verge of passing out at the end of it, was brilliant. Absolutely a brilliant result. Yuki's very consistent. That's why they keep him every year. He can have flashes of speed, but I'm just not sure that. I don't think he's Red Bull quality. I think that's it. I just don't think he's that good. And I don't think he's got the temperament to be a solid number 2 either. I think he is prone to mistakes. It's not like Perez, well, it should be a safe pair of hands, bring the points home, but we've seen he's got inside his own head this year. Didn't Liam end up in getting P9 in Japan as well? Yes, I think he did. He got some points elsewhere, but the first points came at that race in Singapore. De Vries should easily win the Formula E Championship. I believe he's with Mahindra, and they're not good. So you're looking at your drivers with Jaguar, which I believe is Nick Cassidy and Mitch Evans. I think they will go into the Formula E season as favourites. Let me know your thoughts on Formula E, because I did do some watch-alongs on the channel earlier this year, but then sort of mid to end of the season I wasn't around enough to carry on doing them, which was unfortunate. I actually went on holiday for one of them, and then I don't think I was able to do the others because I was either moving house or just plain busy, which was a shame. But I enjoyed this year's Formula E campaign. Obviously Jake Dennis becoming world champion, a British world champion. I'm always up for that. Yes, British bias, but I would expect French motorsport fans to want French drivers to do well, and Spanish motorsport fans to want Fernando Alonso to do well and Carlos Sainz to do well. So I don't have an issue with that. I actually got to interview Jake Dennis, which you can also find as a few clips on the channel. And also I spoke to Sasha Fenestraz. So yeah, I'll be cheering for him next season in the Nissan team, because he was actually really good to speak to. Big fan of Mitch Evans. Stoffel Van Dorn, yes, he is. I think he is probably I wouldn't say the star of F1 that got away, but he is a top quality driver that definitely should have been in F1. But he was in a McLaren team that didn't know where it was going at the time, next to a monster of a teammate, Fernando Alonso. Not in terms of Alonso was a horrible person to be around, but just a very difficult teammate to have, especially when you're a young driver. And there was so much expectation on Stoffel, and it just didn't come together. And again, I think he got inside his own head, and he just spiralled from there. Hamilton's pitting and probably undercutting us here. Do you know what? We're going to go deeper into this race. We're going to let this play out. Verstappen is actually second, and Ocon is behind him. We probably deploy with Ocon at the moment. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, F1 Skiddy. The electric side of Formula E, the sound, it does take a bit of getting used to, but actually the quality of the racing is really good. You get some weird and wonderful things happening, but they're really not afraid to try new things and experiment. They've tweaked the qualifying format. Obviously the one that they had before this sort of knockout phase was aimed at getting everyone an opportunity, like almost equal opportunity. A bit like the old F1 style one lap quali, where the championship leader or race winner from the previous race had to go out first, and whoever finished last or was bottom of the championship went out latest. But yeah, I think you get some brilliant racing. I think the circuits, they could probably go to a few more racetracks, and I think that they're trying to maybe do that a bit more. And I think it could work, because I mean, You need those hard braking zones to regenerate energy, but I'm sure they could find different ways of making the energy. Well, they're doing the energy top up potentially, aren't they? So that's a possibility. Have more race circuits to use and do it that way. Let's. How long? Set of softs will last 45 laps apparently, 46 laps even. So, you know, I'm going to let this unfold a little bit more. Go a bit deeper into the race, and then we are going to. Well, if we get a timely red flag in a minute, this would be great. We are probably going to pop out behind Verstappen. Attack mode is an incredible addition to racing. Their qualifying format is great, and the new feature they're testing, fast charging, seems great. I like the idea of the fast charging because that absolutely is something that you can implement into everybody's lives. Anyone with an electric car, if you can get those fast charging ports set up in local villages and cities and car parks, just around the country, around the world, then that benefits everyone. That is motorsport, the highest level of motorsport, putting itself into our lives. And that Formula One's always like, we need to do things that are road relevant, and that's why they went to the hybrid engines. But you've got Formula E doing that side of things a bit, so F1 could just remain a bit more of a sport. They don't need to be as road relevant. Of course, you want technology to be pioneered that can be put into F1 cars, but it's not the be all and end all. We have popped out in P4 here with Alonso. Those guys ahead of us are on used tyres, and we are coming to get them. Going to just be standard on them for now while they come up to temperature. We've still got 21 laps of this race to go. Who else is on the grid for Formula E this year, next season? Let's have a look. Has the app updated? Unlikely. Standings.
Copy.
Right, it's got them all. Sam Bird going to McLaren's quite interesting. I'd like to see McLaren do really well. Obviously, as a F1 fan, I think we all like McLaren. Popular team. Colour scheme helps. Yeah, no one's going to buy a hybrid because they're an F1 fan and because it's better for the environment. It's just one of those things, isn't it? F1 needs to decide whether it wants to be a pure sporting contest or how road relevant it wants to be. I think they got caught in a bit of a crossroads there, and they'll probably unravel it at some point. But it's Formula One and the FIA. Who even knows if they'll be working together in a couple of years' time. Here's Alonso going for P2. Sam Bird's chance has been and gone. He should have won years. Yeah, he should have. He should have already been a champion. But you never know. It's one of those strange things, Formula E. And like with equal category series are fascinating because you can have drivers who you think actually their time has come and gone, and then they just turn up in a car or a team that works for them. So might not all be done and dusted for Sam. Still a very, very good driver. Probably a few that are slightly better now in the series. But you look at IndyCar. Scott Dixon's into his 40s now and he's still winning. Will Power became the series champion in 22, and I think he's in his 40s as well. So it's interesting. I think it will be a very, very good season with Formula E. Got another champion on the grid in, obviously, Dennis, and then you've got De Vries returning. Stoffel Van Dorn's on the grid as well. Buemi, Degrassi. It's going to be a competitive field, and honestly, I can't look past Cassidy or Mitch Evans for the championship. Those two were sensational last season, and actually quite unfortunate to miss out. Their collision in Rome it gave Jake Dennis an open goal, didn't it? But that said, the first race in London was absolutely ridiculous. It was just chaos. We need to go past this Red Bull at the moment, actually. Ocon is trying to close down Verstappen. He was 1.3 seconds faster. Fernando, be faster than Leclerc. F2 drivers going to Formula E and IndyCar, yeah, absolutely. We've seen a lot of them start to do that because there's just no way into a Formula One team unless you've got backing from an F1 team. I think the next F2 driver that's going to go into a Formula One team is Ollie Behrman. Even if Porsche wins the title, there's no room for him at Sauber at the moment. They've still got Zhou Guanyu. They might end up in F1 at the same time, but I believe that Behrman has actually done enough to earn a Haas seat for, not next season of course, but for the year after, because I can't see Magnussen and Hulkenberg hanging around if they're just finishing 15th, 16th. Ferrari will go, actually, do you know what? Let's put Behrman in that seat. Just twist Haas's arm a bit, shave a little bit of money off their engine prices, and pop him in there, because he's been outstanding. And we've also seen drivers like Marcus Armstrong, Callum Ilott, Yuri Vips has gone over to IndyCar, and they're all doing pretty well, aren't they? And obviously Christian Lundgaard, race winner in Toronto last season. So F2 is the feeder series to Formula One, but I think it needs to be more open than that and realise actually it's feeding these other World Championship or Top Championship series. Vesti has the Mercedes backing, and Alex might get poached by a bigger team. Yeah, possibly. I don't see Vesti going into Formula One, unfortunately. I think he would be more likely to go the FE or IndyCar route, to be honest. But, I mean, today, his drive was superb. He did an amazing job to be almost swallowed up on the opening lap. He was cool as a cucumber and delivered. He made those overtakes. There was so much pressure on him to make sure he got them done. And he didn't have an incident either, which was vital. So, yeah, Vesti's a good shout, but I don't think he'll make it, sadly. Behrman, I've been singing his praises all season. I mean, I'm a regular guest on the F2 show. We'll be live streaming the race tomorrow somewhere, hopefully. And I'm a bit of an Ollie Behrman fanboy, to be honest. You definitely need to watch the F2 highlights, because Vesti's drive was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And Isaac Hadjar, with tyres that were absolutely knackered. We've taken the lead here somewhere with Alonso, although Hamilton's about to come past again. Yeah, the F2 race was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Schumacher going to hypercars is an incredible move for him. It's the only move for him. He's not getting back into a single-seater championship. I think he'll do well in the hypercar series because it's a team environment. There's not as much expectation on you, the driver. You have to work with everybody else, work together. So I think Mick Schumacher will do well in the hypercar series, and Mercedes will look after him. Basically, they looked at what Haas did to him and went, we'll treat him right. Behrman a multi-time champion in the future? Possibly. I think he's got the pure speed to do it. Whether he's got all the other ingredients is still to be found out. But the one that we should all be keeping our eye on is Kimi Antonelli. Mercedes wouldn't have put him straight from Freca to F2 without good reason. He might be the guy who replaces Lewis Hamilton and comes into Mercedes as a rookie. I would be surprised if Mercedes put him in as a rookie in maybe 26, but you know, Lewis Hamilton forced McLaren's hand in being that good, so it's definitely possible. Giovinazzi did well in the LMP series, yeah. I mean, who'd have thought Antonio Giovinazzi would be, you know, winning Le Mans and things like that? I certainly didn't. And he's a perfectly capable racing driver. He's just not F1 standard. He got found out. Also, I think at the time Kimi Raikkonen wasn't the best of benchmarks, so you know, it's maybe he didn't have the right sort of let's say benchmark. Yeah, he just didn't have the right sort of level to aim for. Ocon has recovered to P4 and I think is about to get a P3 perhaps. Let's drive in clean air here. Mercedes will try and get Antonelli in the Williams. Yeah. I mean, like you say, I don't think they'll risk a rookie in the main team, but you know they might take the risk on him if you're good enough, then put them in there. Red Bull have shown that with Max Verstappen, but obviously Antonelli's going to serve his apprenticeship in Formula 2 first, and then move his way into Formula 1. I would like you say. I don't think they'd risk him. I'd be surprised if they put him in immediately, but you never know. This is Formula 1 and anything can happen. And right now what we'd like to see happen is Esteban Ocon go past Charles Leclerc. Let's get him driving in clean air. Let's deploy, push. Is it going to tick over? No. Still haven't got the job done. And now we've run out of ERS. Yeah, if Mercedes fall further back from where they are now, then they'll... Well... Yeah, sorry, I misread that. The only way they'll take the risk is if they fall back from there. Yeah, because there'll be no point in not putting him in. We're still driving in clear. There we go, Ocon. No, yes, no, hokey cokey, in, out. Shake it all about because we're in third place. Excellent, we're still only at medium confidence. Do I have a Discord server? Not yet. I have considered setting something up. If that's something you'd like to see, would that be something you'd be interested in if I set up a Discord server and then sort of linked it to the YouTube and stuff? Can we hang on for this P3, please? This would be our first double podium. Oh, it's gone. Hopefully Ocon can get back in front. We've still got a few laps to go. Yes to a Discord server. Okay, I will start putting that together, I suppose. And arrange for that to be put into place. Okay, where is Ocon? He's there. We want him to be not in third at the start of the final lap unless have Leclerc's tyres given up. I mean, he's on mediums. They're about the same level of wear. Let's push. I think we've escaped DRS actually with Ocon. I think he is going to get that podium for Ferrari. Looks like it. Pocher did have a great sprint race, you're right. I mean, he could so easily have been tangled up in the early mess that was the first couple of corners. By the way, Fernando Alonso's winning this race by nearly 16 seconds. Our strategy has been on point today.
What you have done, guys?
Brilliant. I mean, As much as I can be happy for Fernando Alonso winning the race, I am happy. Oh no, Ocon! Oh, did he? He made it. He made it across the line. He was still pushing and almost ran. He's run out of fuel, but
We deserve that.
it's fine because he's third.
Great job, guys.
Really solid race.
Really solid race, indeed. We did do a good job there. Lando Norris snatching a point in the AlphaTauri. Fernando Alonso wins again for Ferrari. He overtook his old rival Lewis Hamilton to do it. And whoops, we've skipped the celebrations of the podium. Leclerc gets the fastest lap. Gap at the top, just 4 points. Interesting. Now, well, if we hadn't done that stupid two-stop strategy in Australia, then we'd have. You had a heartbreak with George Russell when running fourth in Imola, and he ran out of fuel a millimetre before the line. Yeah, I had exactly that. So if you go through the F1 Manager series with Mercedes, go to Canada, I think it's like episode 30 something. Let me have a look. So we did run out of fuel like on the last lap of the sprint. Let's find it. Which episode was it? View your channel. Episode 33. We probably should have won the sprint, but we almost ran out of fuel with both cars. Lewis didn't make it to the line. Right. Lewis Hamilton leads the way in the championship for Red Bull. Oh, what could have been if Christian Horner has had his message read earlier this year on Lewis Hamilton's old phone. Ocon now actually moves into fourth position in the championship. We closed the gap a wee bit on Red Bull, but I don't think we'll be catching them. But yeah, that was a decent race for us. Did we get... We're second in the fastest pit stop competition, which, I mean, yeah, okay, F1's all about speed, but do we need to have speed in a place where it's not safe? George got classified as P9 points-wise, so it wasn't all bad. Yeah, I mean, if certain drivers have been lapped and then they've finished and you're okay. I've seen that happen. I actually saw it back in... So I'm going to show a bit of my age here. Back in 1999, the Brazilian Grand Prix, Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the Jordan stopped on the final lap because he'd run out of fuel. But he kept the podium because everybody up to P4 was a lap down. Frentzen was the last man on the lead lap, so he kept his podium. F2 car has changed for next year. Yeah, it's going to be a bit more like the F1 cars nowadays. I believe it's a bit more ground effect, so be an equal playing field for everybody. I'm going to end the stream here for now because, as I will explain in a moment, I'm streaming I'm on a live stream for the F2 finale, so I need to go and get my beauty sleep so I'm presentable for 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning, which it won't take much to sort myself out, but I have to get everything prepared for that. That's with Inside F2, so check out our socials for that at F2 Inside on Twitter, X, whatever it wants to be. Follow me at Aaron Harper GP on Twitter as well to find out when we're going live and where it's going to be. So that's the end of this stream. If I can find the chat. There we go. You have to let them all get a certain distance. Yeah, absolutely right, F1 Skiddy. That's exactly how it has to work. But yeah, thank you so much to everybody who's joined me today. Really appreciate it. I hope you're enjoying the series as well, like the story that we're getting here. As we get a little bit deeper into it, I'm sure a few more things will arise. Esteban Ocon got his first podium for us at Ferrari today, which I thought was pretty good for him. Of course, leave a like on the stream and watch it. If you're watching after the fact as well, subscribe to make sure you don't miss an F1 Manager stream or video from me. I'll see you probably next week. Well, for another live stream at least, hopefully. But I'll see you on Monday for the next instalment of the Mercedes journey. So until then, it's goodbye and enjoy the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix tomorrow. See you next time, guys. Bye for now.